The White Lotus has never been shy about shocking the audience, but this episode really upped the ante by offering some truly surprising scenes. Not to mention a very awesome and memorable cameo from the brilliant Sam Rockwell. This guy's cameo is one scene that I bet you will not soon forget. Let's talk about The White Lotus, Season 3, Episode 5. Okay, starting right out with Guy Talk, I have to say I was very disappointed with his lack of courage in this episode. After he found evidence that Tim did in fact steal the gun, he should have walked up and demanded that he handed it over. I do understand that Guy Talk is quite concerned that if he makes a scene with a paying customer, he could get fired, not to mention the fact that he did let this gun get stolen in the first place, so he could possibly get fired, but either way, there is a gun in the wind and you don't want that. That's not good. I wish Guy Talk would have had some more courage and just been more forceful with this guy. He walked into the restroom and said, "Hey, I lost something and I think you have it." And he just allowed Tim to say, "I don't know what you're talking about." Guy Talk, you might have dropped the ball here. Who cares about that little bitch's feelings? Get that gun back and put that little bitch in his place. Sticking with the Ratliff family, Piper finally told her parents the real reason for this trip to Thailand. And as expected, Victoria was none too thrilled to hear about this news.
Honey, you're not from China. What does that have to do with anything?
Tim, on the other hand, was so busy contemplating the fact that he's going to go to prison soon and the fact that he stole a gun that he didn't really pay too much attention.
But you're not a Buddhist.
When Piper was having this conversation with her parents, I couldn't help but be reminded of that movie Into the Wild. It's a true story. It starred Emil Hirsch. It came out like quite a few years ago at this point, but it's about a guy who basically, kind of like Piper, had everything going for him. He came from a wealthy family. At least I think he did. I can't remember all the details, but he ends up being someone who just gives up everything and decides to go live in the wild, hence the title. And in this series, Piper, also coming from a very wealthy and well-off family, although probably not for long, decides that she wants to just stay in Thailand and meditate. I think it's kind of cool. I have mad respect for that. Maybe she'll be kind of like that character in Into the Wild and just forego her family's rich money, which is about to be frozen and might likely already be frozen. Meanwhile, Lockley and Saxon are continuing their full moon party shenanigans with Chelsea and Chloe aboard Greg's very fancy yacht, who, by the way, is absent from this episode. This scene was pretty entertaining, I guess. I mean, this episode did have a lot of club scenes, party scenes. That is what's going on. These people are on vacation, and we get a moment in this scene with Lockley and Saxon that many people probably audibly gasp, because after ingesting some Molly, Saxon and Lockley end up kissing. I yelled to the screen. I said, "I knew it! I knew they were gonna do that," because I totally did. I called some kind of an incest thing going on between these two eventually from that very first episode when Saxon is just flat out asking his brother, "What kind of porn do you watch?" That's not a normal conversation between brothers. At least I don't think it is. Not to mention, he got butt naked right in front of his brother, with his brother totally watching, and went to the bathroom to watch some porn on his tablet. So yeah, incest vibes for sure. And if anybody has seen Game of Thrones, this scene probably did not really surprise you that much. Another day in media. We've seen incest before. And I'm pretty sure there's cultures in the world where this isn't really that big of a deal. But us Americans, we tend to gasp when we see such things. But post Game of Thrones, this kind of thing isn't really all that surprising. And what's interesting about this scene is that Lockley is the one who initiated the kiss. I assume it was a dare by Chloe. It seemed like they might have been doing some kind of truth or dare, or just dares, who knows, but Lockley is the one who initiates this kiss, and Saxon actually does. By the end of this kiss, he looks a bit surprised. I don't think he was expecting this. And Chelsea's expression, well, I think that's probably the same expression many people had in the audience. I thought the scene was great. I thought it was hilarious. I saw it coming, and I was just so thrilled to see that yet again, I was able to successfully predict something. So yeah, this scene was crazy. We got to see two brothers kissing, but as crazy as that scene was, it pales in comparison to seeing what's going on with Rick in Bangkok, because it's here that we get this very memorable and hilarious conversation and cameo from Sam Rockwell. This is the scene that steals the show of this episode by far. Sam Rockwell is a fantastic actor. I have been a fan of his since I first saw him as the villain in that old movie Charlie's Angels. And yes, it's old. It's old by now. In fact, I like this guy so much that I recently mentioned his movie Moon when I was reviewing Mickey 17, because I actually thought that Moon with Sam Rockwell is a better movie than Mickey 17. So yeah, been a big fan of this guy for many, many years, but I was not prepared to hear him talking about getting railed while dressed up as an Asian girl.
Maybe what I really want is to be one of these Asian girls.
And neither was Rick, because his expression was comedy gold.
Huh?
I mean, really, how do you react to someone that you thought you knew for so long, someone that you have come to truly have a bond with, just telling you that they want to dress up as an Asian girl and get plowed in the ass? It's just something you really don't expect people to say, and I would love to see the behind the scenes of this episode, because there's no way that they did this in one take. I bet you this took so many takes, they had to bust out laughing during this conversation. It's clear that these two have a very deep history together. We don't know much about Frank at this point, other than the fact that he had to leave America, so we're guessing that he did some kind of illegal activity, much like Rick is probably into. He also has access to weapons, obviously, because that is the true meaning behind this meeting. Rick needs a gun from this guy. I do expect that we're going to find out more about Frank in the next episode, because it looks like he's going to be joining Rick on this so-called revenge quest. And maybe if we're lucky, let's cross our fingers, we'll get to see Sam Rockwell dressed up like an Asian girl. Now let's jump over to Belinda, who was extremely freaked out to find out that Greg has been asking around the hotel about her.
It appears you have many fans. One of our regulars was just asking me all about you.
She's not stupid. She's seen enough violence in the world and enough movies, I assume, to know that being on Greg's radar is not a good thing. And after a really funny scene with Fabian, who, by the way, has some of the best facial expressions in this series, she ends up feeling like she needs to ask her mentor, Pornchai, to stay in her cabin with her just to make sure that she's safe from this guy. And wouldn't you know it, I really didn't know if Belinda was into these subtle advances that Pornchai was making, but I guess she was, because she leans in and initiates a kiss. Or is she only kissing him because she wants him to protect her from Greg? It's hard to tell. Either way, I bet you things got pretty fun last night for her. And finally, jumping over to our three girlfriends who are hanging out with these Russians. I said in my video last week that I was pretty concerned what was gonna happen. I thought one of these girls was gonna get raped, maybe all of them, maybe sex trafficked, and we'd have to get a hold of Liam Neeson, but it seems like all we got from them was a lot of raves and parties. Lots of dancing scenes in this episode, and I gotta be honest, the music really bumped. I was so tempted, because I have a Philips Hue light system that syncs the lights to your TV, and I didn't have it turned on, and these are the kind of scenes where you want it turned on, these club scenes where the colors are changing. I might have to rewatch this episode and turn that feature on and just experience the colors with the cast. I gotta say, the result of this party scene, though, it was a little bit surprising, because I thought Valentin was gonna hook up with Lori, not with Jacqueline. Although judging by that delicious body and all those muscles, there is plenty of Valentin to go around. And before I end this video, let's briefly talk about Tim attempting to take his life, because he said in the previous episode he would rather die than go to prison.
You understand me? I would rather fucking die.
And it seems like he really meant it, because he started to write a suicide note when Victoria interrupted him. I honestly would love him to do it. I want to see this guy take the cowardly way out, because I think it really sticks in line with his character. He clearly is kind of a piece of garbage, and that's the ending I think is most fitting for him. Now I am worried that something worse is going to happen as a result of him staying alive. So that's all the noteworthy moments I took away from this episode. Yet again, I really enjoyed it. I am loving this third season, and every time I see people online complain that this season is boring, I'm like, well, how the hell did you make it through the first two seasons? The pacing is almost the exact same. But don't worry, folks, John Wick is streaming, so if you want thin characters and mindless action, well, you can watch that. But haters, please stop hating. This season is awesome, the writing is top-notch, and this is every bit as high quality as the first two seasons. And I love Jennifer Coolidge. I did like her on that series, and I will wouldn't mind if she continued on this series, but I'm just saying the show didn't die with her, so quit acting like it did. So what did you guys think of this episode? I'm sure some of you guys were quite shocked. Please put your responses and your thoughts to this episode in the comments, and let's get a conversation going. Let's talk about Saxon and Lockley. What is going on? Do we think that something even further is going to happen? I'm kind of wondering. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel, y'all. Later.